Hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream. AJ, good evening to you as well. We are here on the new route, Crewe to Preston, or the other way around, standing in line to buy a ticket actually, so that we can go somewhere. Cheddar says City Radar. I don't know what that means. He always finds words confuse me a lot. So, Uncle Joe's mint balls. That's one of the collectibles in the route, if I'm not mistaken. And they have beautiful little flower pots on their desks in the ticket office. But I've been waiting here for quite some time. It is not really getting anywhere. So probably we're not buying a ticket after all and drive ourselves. The Midday Scott, the West Highland Wanderer. Those beautiful oldish posters that we know, some of them at least, from the other Just Trains routes. Here are some vintage fire extinguishers and espresso cups. Doors slightly ajar. Here the shop to buy some refreshments. This is where we parked our car. This is probably our car that took us here to the station at... Where are we actually? I forgot again. What does it say here? At Warrington, exactly. This is where I was. So many streams at City Radar. I actually did not see where you at with your stream streak at the moment, and well, yeah, there are so many streams I actually cannot really keep up with getting them all to the YouTube channel at the moment, but I'm doing my best. What I'm doing here at the moment, I have no idea. I'm just exploring, wandering about. I just thought maybe we just jump in the middle of the road, get the smell, get the sound, get the feeling of the 1980s in British Rail Blue or Rail Freight Grey, as it seems. Here, 47. Let's just find out where this path takes us to. It takes us to the yard. That's actually interesting. And it takes us to another path. No idea how far we can actually travel on this path, but it's nice that there are paths, that there are nice fences, nice scenery, and see Akura Moin, I'm not ready yet. You're not ready yet? For what are you not ready? So I cannot walk over this. I have to pass next to it. Look at that, what they did to this cabinet. Definitely needs fixing, but I'm not touching any collectibles. Warrington Bank key. There we are. We heard the whistle. Was it the whistle for that train? It's good riddance. Lady. We don't have the 1980 crew, right? We have more or less modern day passengers. At least they look more like that. They don't have those absurd hairdos. The Just Trains open toilets that we know from the Preston Carlisle route at any rate. Litter boxes. Yeah, I actually thought this time I can pre-play some of the stuff. but I did not get around to doing this. This is why I'm completely new to this, and I'm just enjoying what is happening on my stream for following along. All right, then don't rush yourself. It's easy, and we don't need to overdo everything. I'm probably competing with every rail streamer who does train sim world at the moment, because it is one day only of lifting the embargo until the release. So a sneak peek, early access, or whatever you want to call them, only happens today. AJ says, could it be that the screen is not entirely... Yeah, it is. And it says, yeah, it never is, and never noticed. This is a weird thing, actually, because I always try to make sure that it is, but it never is. It always jumps off the board again, for whatever reason. Now it is, right? The format does not really comply completely with the canvas, as it seems. Now at least you have it completely on. Maybe we have some black frames around it, like we used to have this on the TV when they showed movies that ran in the cinema. We don't have a 16:9 screen. Well, that is sometimes weird. I'm quite sure I have a 16:9 set up in my OBS, but sometimes the game sends it out in a slightly different ratio. As it seems. Not entirely sure. Whatever. That was the introduction. And now let's play something properly. And before we do that, let's check out what there is in the DLC, the contents, the journey mode, the scenarios, the timetable, the route, and then play maybe one scenario to get into it. It actually has a super nice look and feel, just like every other Just Trains DLC that I've seen so far. Now, for example, you see those fringes on the left and on the right side, which is also a bit weird in the loading screen. It seems like the game can never always completely decide what ratio it wants to transmit in. We will keep an eye on that. So, choose a route. West Coast Mainline, Crewe to Preston. That is that baby that we have there. And if we jump into it, we have quite... Oh, there are actually only 3 training models that they want to show us here. In the journey mode, we can see more. But who wants to see the training modules anyway? We have 5 scenarios that all sound interesting, but they are quite longish, each and every one of them. Merry-go-round, that refers to that system for the coal transport, where the train more or less does not need to stop. They can load the coal while going, and they can unload the coal while running. And this is the merry-go-round, and probably we have to do something like this. Out with a bang is the 86/4, the electric tap changer locomotive that we can run on this scenario with some problems. Will be interesting to see. Thunderbirds are go. Overhead line issues has resulted in diesel locos being deployed. Perform Thunderbird duties by dragging electric trains to the affected section. I think this is what we're gonna do. So we can actually run the 47 and the 20, as it says. And we also will see the 86/4 locomotive on test. There's a specific 86/4 locomotive. You've been asked to take it on a test run to ensure that everything works as expected. In deep coal is a winter scenario that looks interesting. I just started it to see what is there, and it involves coal transport, as it seems. So 5 scenarios that I'm really looking forward to playing when I actually get around to. The timetable with 60 layers. Spectre is not here, unfortunately. He's the layer expert. But 60 layers is quite a lot, right? Will they even show? Yeah. Yeah, good luck with that. Is this... yes. A lot of it is actually coming from West Cornwall local because of the freight cars that I used at some point. And West Coast main line. As you can see, Blackpool branches, obviously. West Coast main line, Preston, Blackpool, and Omps. The Preston Carlisle West Coast main line I was talking about. Manchester local, Blackpool, Omps, Kirk. So obviously a lot of just train stuff that is layering into it. But also from Liverpool, Crewe, Spirit of Steam is something coming in. And the West Cornwall local, 60 layers, they are all on. And what locomotives do we have here? We have the 87 from the Preston Carlisle route, and you can see how many different versions there are. I don't know where we really need that many. They all look more or less the same on the first glance. One of them is called a light engine, and then there comes the Intercity, Intercity 2, Intercity 2 rebuffers, Intercity 3, Intercity red buffers, Intercity weathered, and the light engine for the Intercity version. But what is the difference between all those blue ones? Coming from West Coast by line Shap, meaning the Preston Carlisle route. I can't tell you yet. We'll have to figure this out before. Gronk, the one from Crewe Preston, that is a new Gronk. That is the one that is coming with this DLC. So even if you don't own anything else, you'll get this Gronk. Then we got the latest version of the 101 from the Preston Carlisle with 2 cars, with 3 cars. We got a Pacer if we have the Blackpool branches, again in the 3 different versions that come with the Blackpool branches, with different transmissions, with different engines, and with 3 different liveries. That make at least 9. There are more in it. I don't know why there are more in it. The Class 20, even if you don't own the local DLC, you get it here in the game for free. You also don't need to own the nuclear DLC, obviously. You get different versions, blue head coat, what is actually more like a black head coat box here, blue disc, blue X disc, rail freight versions. The rail freight versions is the one that we already know from the standalone local DLC. And here we have 3 different versions again with the head coat box in black, and then with a disc and with the X disc. Yeah, with the disc covers removed, more or less, as it seems. The 47/3 is the new 47. 47, obviously, we know from a lot of different DLCs. And in the rail freight and in blue it comes. And what is the specific about the /3 is that it has a slow speed control that they actually make use of for using it for loading coal and unloading coal. The 47/4 comes in the versions that we have in the Preston Carlisle route with Intercity. Liveries, with blue liveries, with the large logo livery, and then a livery designer version. What is the rationale about having a special version that is for the livery designer? Beats me. Maybe we find out sometime. The 86/2 is the one from Shap. That is a local standalone DLC with a lot of different version of the tap changer locomotive. That is older version than the 87, obviously, and now we get exclusively from this DLC, the 86/4 locomotive. Also in a lot of different liveries here with a white roof, as it says, electric blue RCH. Well, still to find out what those liveries actually make, what makes them special, but this is what we have. We have quite a lot of different services, 132, 59, 48, 238 for the 47, / to 207 for the 20, only 23 for the Pacer, 46 for the 101, 32 for the Gronk, 98 for the 87. And then let's look at the journey mode. Now we have here, we have quite a lot of introductions. There's a route introduction for a change again, and then we have a loco introduction for the 47/3, one for the 86/4. The locos that in those versions are new to this DLC. One for the Gronk, that is a new introduction, even though the Gronk obviously has been in the game before with their own introduction. The 20/0, since the class 20 is a bit different from the class 20 that we had so far, it is a new introduction for it. And then 2 introductions for loading and unloading coal. That makes you familiar with the slow speed control on the 47/3 and on the class 20/0. If you want to go through it, you can see I already played it, so I know what there is. And then you've got quite a voluminous journey pack with different services up and down the line. The scenarios are fitted in here. First, as it seems, with the 86/4, and then the 20s, and then, well, that picture is again the 20s. I have not tried out what locomotive they present you with, probably a mixture of the 47/3 and the class 20s. And now, let's pick a scenario, the scenario where the Thunderbirds are go. Let's see where this takes us. Also, now the picture from the screenshot competition was cut off a bit. Thunderbirds are go. There's issues with the overhead line equipment between Wigan and Warrington. Talk to the station foreman for specific instructions. I will gladly do so. Mr. Foreman, a power outage means we need you to take the 47 on platform 4 and pilot 1 Sierra 39 to Wigan. Thank you for letting me know. Hey, where can I find the 47? Walk down the platform to the loco. Since I've turned off the markers, I always have to see in what direction the distance is actually decreases. Ah, there is my loco in the bay platform. Maybe you should take this side because the other side is fenced off. Cold start the 47 and then draw beyond Whiskey November 185 signal. You'll then be routed on top of the train that we have to carry. Set the tail lights to lift. Hey, that's probably then the back end. Tail lights left hand side. Set the battery isolation switch to closed. That is typically only on one end. Not good. Or there is actually a battery isolation switch on the other end as well. There is. Okay. Sit in the driver's seat. Set the AWS change end switch to on. That is that one. At the same time we can unisolate the AWS. Self-test works. And then here is the DSD isolation switch. It's this little switch that is not easily seen. Set the master key to on. And if you don't want to use the keyboard shorts, there is where you find it. Set the reverser to engine only so that we can start this machine. And then press the engine start button. We can see the red light for engine stopped is on, the alarm light is on. And now let's see if we can get this thing going. Here is the engine start button. Like a puppy. Set the straight local brake to 100 so that we can release the train brake. Now the alarm light is off because the brakes are released. Set the reverser to forward. Do we not need some light or will that come later? Turn the headlights and the marker lights on. Marker lights are here. Marker lights are the one here in the box that used to be the box for the head code, and here is the high visibility light. That one here in the middle that was retrofitted to most of those locomotives from the era. And release the parking brake. Is that wheel thingy here. Whoop. It only turns a very short distance. Set the straight brake, local brake to 0. And then kick it. No idea how fast we can go here. 15. Move that out of the way so that I can see the signal. And we have to draw to Signal Whiskey November 185. Here is the signal, and the normal procedure is we go beyond the signal, stop, change ends, turn off the headlights and the markers, get the tail light to left, set the reverser to off, reverser to off straight away, set the master key to off. Let's see if that works with the brake setup that we have here. Set the driver's brake to shutdown, put it into emergency, then typically we use the pin, but there is no pin. Here we can go through it without pulling the pin. Set the AWS change end switch to off. Let's see if he instructs us to release the local brake. Off. We can leave it unisolated. I'm not entirely sure whether we have to isolate the DST on this and change cabs and sit in the driver's seat. I think we have to release the straight brake because now the train is held in place by the train brake that is in shutdown. We cannot go through the engine room, unfortunately, so we have to go around the outside as far as we can do that here in this little underpass where there is no it has its own unisolated. Let's see if that works if we have it on the other side. Set the master key to on. Set the driver's brake to initial application. Set the tail lights to off. There is one here. Turn the headlight and the marker lights on so that we have the lights now on the other side. Set the reverser to forward. From off straight to forward. Wait for 1039 to arrive. It would be interesting to see whether we have some problems with the DST turned on or unisolated on the other end of the cab. Or usually for the AWS to be unisolated on both ends works. Can not test the fire alarm here. Can have the instrument lights on if we want that. It's called desk lights on this locomotive. Why it wants us to hold the train with initial application, not with a straight brake, I don't know. We will see. Our signal is at red. It's on the right side, nevertheless it belongs to us because there is no other track on the other side. Contact the signaler to gain authority to proceed, and contacting the signaler on this locomotive is with tab. Proceeded restricted speed, and it actually gave us permission here. And set the driver's brake to running. Apply power. And it wants us to couple to formation directly. Here's the equipment, by the way, for the slow speed control. Yeah. DVD can be reset. Here is the switch to turn it on, the slow speed control SSC. Here is the special speedometer, and here's the button to select it. Press against the loco. Okay. For coupling until someone tells me to do something else, I would always suggest getting the brakes into full service, also the straight brake on, so that the chance is Not so big that the train will run away. Proofers are actually touching. We can do this, shut down this cab. It actually gives it quite a whack, the other loco. Shut down the cab and change it. And then, what did it say? I did not read it until the end. What was the message? Talk to the station foreman for... No, that is the beginning of the story. Change and shut this cab down and change ends are ready to take the set to Wigan. The class 86 will be dead in tow, so expect the train to be sluggish. And we will see how it actually works with the train being sluggish. Reverse it to off. We can also, because we did turn them on unasked, we will have to turn off the instrument lights on our own. Set the driver's brake to shut down. Emergency. And when the brake pipe is empty, we can get it into shutdown. Change ends, switch to off. Tail lights to off, because now we're coupled to... That's already on the other side, right? No, the tail lights on the class 86. So we have to get to the other locomotive, because here our tail lights are already off. Where are the tail lights on this loco? Why did it have the tail lights on, by the way? The tail lights are here. It was switched to right for whatever reason. And now we're going... Wilton Endeavour is the name of our 47, by the way. Yeah, don't forget the change ends lever. Set the master key to on. Initial application. Taillights to off. Turn the headlights and marker lights on. Reverse it to forward. And now I actually have a feeling that we did not release the local brake on the other end of our 47. Let's just check this out so that we don't get a bad surprise. If you leave the local brake on here, this will actually stop you. Set the reverser to forward. Now we can actually do what they tell us. Straight brake here is already released. Train is only held by initial application with open doors. Not sure if that is a good idea, but well, if they insist and they think this is safe enough. Good. Guard blows the whistle. Set the driver's brake to running. We have a green, by the way, in the meantime, and now we can go. We're leaving at what speed? We are 50 and then going across a 30 switch as it looks. And then we can actually accelerate to 90-75, and that is line speed as it seems. Sometimes when we're coupling, the ends are switched for the external cameras 2 and 3. Okay. DVD on both ends enabled, unisolated is totally okay. Taser. AWS. That thing here is the ammeter with the Ka, probably for kilo amperes. So are we going across the 30 switch now, or no, we're already beyond that. That means we can accelerate even more so that our train does not lose too many minutes more. And with the juice out of the overhead catenary, we are pulling by diesel power the electric express train to Wigan North. When we look at the route, actually, where we are now at the middle, more or less, and what is a nice feature of that route is that we do not only have the straight route from A to B, from Crewe to Preston, but we have a lot of yards and facilities next to it. Not only Crewe EMD here, as you can see, but also for coal loading and unloading works, and a power plant. It's coming especially in here. We have here the Fiddler's Ferry signal box. Why is it called signal box? I don't know, but probably because that is the place it is called. And there is the power plant where you can unload the coal. Also here we have sidings represented, and here the bigger Shaw colliery where you can load coal and bring it in. And that is in Wigan North. And here is Preston that we know from the other DLCs. Here the line to Ormskirk. And here the line to Carlisle, and here the lines. Guess this is the one that gets us to Blackpool. Yeah, that is the connection. Actually, by the way, if you own the Spirit of Steam, then you know this part between Crewe and Acton Bridge, what is somewhere around here, I think. That is the Weaver Junction train spotting point. Here's Acton Bridge. And I think that this is the line that actually branches off towards Liverpool. So this part from here to there is in an older version, already in the Spirit of Steam DLC, where this part here from this junction up to Preston, or at least up to this junction here where the line from Ormskirk is coming in, is new. So not only A to B, 75, but we are not that fast yet, but working on it. And unfortunately I did not have the time yet to explore all the possibilities with those installations left and right to the track, but I am sure they provided you with a lot of gameplay opportunities here. And what I love in the 47 and also on the 86, 87s is that you have this panoramic view You can just turn around and look at everything, at the scenery, unlike in an Electrostar, for example, or in 385, where you are limited only to your little window. Another 47 carrying the coal hoppers. On the up slow line probably. And again, we are doing this weird double heading here because we do not have any Jews in the overhead catenary. By the way, I did not turn on my DLC marker. What I do now, and also my disclaimer, it tells you that as an ambassador I got the DLC keys for free from Dovetail Games. Thanks a lot. Line speed, I think, just increased to 80 from this point on, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, it actually increased to 90 and now it dropped to 80 for the junction here. But we are not getting this train so fast anyway. Even though we are running with full speed. They have soccer pitches that are not the most even soccer pitches that I've ever seen. Now we can go 100 again if we manage to do that. Obviously we are late, but this can't be helped. Better safe than sorry. Here is a neutral section that does not face us at all on our diesel train. We have to prepare for any slowdown 80, 90, 100 for the next junction. We are still way below the 80. So no need to slow down. now we can actually go up to 95. As it seems, until we get into the platform, maybe we'll have to slow down for the arrival, but so far they did not tell us. Turn on my desk lights. Makes the gauges easier to read. So, now we're closing in, only 2.3 miles to go. We have to slow down to 75. Maybe we should just slowly get the power out so that we can coast in. We're late anyway. You can see the cooling towers of that power plant over there, getting a double yellow. A lot of static rolling stock standing in the yards. Or at least compared to other DLCs, a lot. One mile to go. Single yellow. Let's see how the brakes affect this train, how sluggish it actually will be brake wise. So better brake too much and then get the brakes out again, as compared to braking too gentle and then overshooting. But I think we're good with the brakes. Is that nice? I think it is. So, question is actually, where do we need to stop? In the usual stopping position or in a stopping position so that we are a bit further on and the train is where it is usually is supposed to be. was the AWS with a red signal at the end of the platform. So, let's see if we have a gradient here. Feels a bit like the train is slowing down on its own if we don't pull it along. Signal is gracefully a bit behind the platform so that we're not overshooting. We don't have a DRA, a driver's reminder appliance, so we cannot activate it. Now we have to uncouple the whole consist. When we're uncoupling, we should probably go full service so that whatever we uncouple does not roll away. Shunt the 47 out of the way so that the passenger train can continue. The guard already blows the whistle. That might be a bit prematurely, because otherwise they will push us out of the way. Set the taillights to the left, obviously on our back, and here that is that taillight sit. Set the driver's brake to running. Apply power to start moving. Alright. We are shunting towards signal Whiskey November 1-2. Can actually go quite fast. We don't go far, so there's no point in accelerating like a maniac. We just shunt beyond the signal so that we can use the signal to get back to wherever we want to go. Okay. Turn off the headlight and marker lights. We can do that. Turn probably on the tail light to the left, yes. Set the reverser to off. Driver's brake to shut down. That is first in emergency. Wait for the brake pipe to clear. I cannot put it further on. Throttle is off. Reverser is off. Now it works. Master key to off. And never forgot, this is what in the Just Train scenarios they don't tell you. In case you set the straight brake or brake here with a straight brake, you always have to get it back to zero. Otherwise it will hold you after changing the ends. Set the AWS change end switch to off. I have no one here. Change caps and seat in the driver's seat. Did we do anything else? Yes, we turned on the desk lights. Should be switched off as well. Set the master key. Set the driver's brake to initial application. Is it not initial application enough? Set the tail lights to off. Marker and high-vis headlamp. Set the reverse to forward. If you want your desk lights, set the driver's brake valve to running. We already have a signal. Now we're shunting towards signal Whiskey November 42, and here we actually are on a 10 miles switch. So careful, we are too fast. This is the 10-mile switch. So we are not going on it. Here's the 10-mile switch. The goose and tracks, probably a poop. So can we go a bit faster here on this side? Not much. 15 we can go, and 10 on the opposite end again. A red with a subsidiary signal. So let's see what happens with our AWS here. Well, nothing, because we don't have any EPWS brain stop loops, so we don't need to press any override keys. And still a bit to go until we get past signal Whiskey November 42. Probably we can go faster than 10. No, actually, here's the 10. Maybe the signal that we're seeing up front is signal Whiskey November 42. Pacer coming in with the regional railways livery. I remember Acura driving it the other day from Preston to Lancaster and the other way around. So we are beyond that signal, turn off the headlight and marker lights. And again here, this straight brake, if you brake with a straight brake here, you always have to think of releasing it on your own, because they won't tell you that in the scenario. Set the tail lights to left. Turn off the desk lights. If you turn it on, set the reverser to off. Set the driver's brake to shut down. If it does not want to go into shutdown, just wait a bit, and then it typically goes. Set the master key to off, and the change end lever, change caps, not forgetting the straight air brake, which side is safer. It's both okay, I guess. Can already do the change end switch. Master key to on. Driver's brake to initial application. Tail lights to off. The markers on and the high visibility light. Reverse it to forward. Driver's brake to run in. Signal is already good. Where are we going? We're going actually to a platform. Wigan 2. At the moment we're still in a 10 miles section, I'm quite sure, and this will only change for a very short distance to 15 and then we're back to 10. Maybe we're going into a bay platform again, just like the ones that we started from at the other station. Sometimes you can't even see that the marker lights are on, right? But they are. Signal is open. HFI. No idea what that is or was. Here's the pair of 220s. Maybe those are the ones that we're now using then for the way back. Shut down the cap and then ask the station foreman about your next workings. Okay. Good. Turn off the headlights and the markers. Set the taillights to left. Both ends. Set the reverser to off. Set the driver's brake to shut down. Off, off. Master key is still on. Now it goes into shutdown. Set the master key to off. Set the AWS change end switch to off. Okay. I think I just leave the DSD, it says. Interestingly, it calls it a deadman's pedal, a DSD isolation switch, and a DVD intervention. Okay. But that is okay. Air passenger we were running on, also that is okay. And I leave the safety systems unisolated because that is probably what they are supposed to be anyway. So, where is our foreman? He's not in this waiting pavilion. He's also not... Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, what a haircut. My man. You look a bit spooky for being a foreman. The overheads are still being problematic. This time take the class 20s and use them to tow the express. Well, I gotta move on. Start up the 20s and then shunt the pair to the south end of the station onto 1 Golf 73. Sit in the driver's seat. 20s have a cap only on one end. This is why we're using them in a pair. Which driver's seat? That one or the other one? That one it wants us to sit in. Master key, it is lying about here. Set the tail lights to on. Now I've got to look where the tail lights actually are. They are typically on a console like this. No, those are the marker tail lights. Both tail lights. Tail light on. Left side. Or did it want? Aha, I wanted the other panel. It was that seat, but that panel. Set the reverser to engine only. Press the engine start button for 2 seconds. Engine start. Can you hear anything? I don't. But apparently it was enough. Off. Set the master key to off. Maybe we didn't hear because our 47 is making so much noise. Now the throttle lever is in the way. We cannot really get to the master key. It says the master key to off. Or does it mean the master key switch? Yes, it means the master key switch. Set the handbrake to released. Handbrake is here. And this one involves much more cranking than the handbrake on the 47. And now sit in the driver's seat of the other one in the pair. And check if our lights are actually on. Ding ding. Yes. We've got one in the Rail Freight grey livery, and we've got one in the British Rail blue livery. So which side does it want? By the way, we can turn on our AWS. For the DST there is unfortunately no switch, at least we have not found one so far, but the shortcut with the keyboard works. Set the AWS change end to switch on. Also has a cap. It's actually funny that it has a cap change end lever, even though it only has one cap and one end, so there is actually not much changing involved. Unless we are in a part. No, he's just British, nothing to fear about. Oh, it actually was a bit problematic, my connection to the chat. So this comment was about the foreman. Set the master key to on, that is that one here. Sit in the other driver's seat, okay. And set the headlights to on. Headlights are the marker lights. In this case, because we don't have a high-vis lamp, we only have those marker lights in the black headcoat box. Set the reverser to forward. Here the reverser works the other way around, right? On the 47 it starts from off to forward, and here it's the other way around. Then the handbrake to release. Also this loco has its own handbrake. It's over here. Again cranking. This loco has the best hot plate, by the way. can actually see how this thing gets red, and if you want to try to touch it. Now in the other DLC it actually gave you a warning about it. Yeah, the warning is no longer. Now it actually goes cold again. Hit the train brake to running. But then we don't have any brake holding us anymore. Enough high power to move. You sure we got a red light? Ah, we've got here the precision light. Subsidiary signal to go with it. Speed clock is down here. Here's another one for the slow speed. Again, we don't need to press anything because there is no train stop loop. TPWS was not a thing at the time. Signal Whiskey November 42. Is it the same signal that we turned the 47 around? Maybe, right? It's again in this dead-end track. Last time we ran the Class 20 was when we unboxed the cargo line Nuclear. Actually don't know if the local brake, direct brake, actuates also the brake cylinders on the second loco in the pair. Actually should, but I don't know if it does. Set the headlights to off. Taillights to on. Both in this case. Train brake to neutral, shutdown. This one has a pin, so yeah, I've got to pull the pin so that I can move it to shutdown. Set the reverser to off. Now we can also release the local brake so that it doesn't stop us. Set the master key to off. That is again on the other side. AWS change ends switch to off. And sit in the other driver's seat. We will see if leaving the AWS isolation switch unisolated here will actually harm us. Now that we have two different locomotives. Same goes for the DSD. If so, then we're gonna have to turn it off. Set the master key to on. Set the reverser to forward. Set the taillights to off. And the markers on. This is why it was on this panel. And wait for 1 Golf 73 to arrive. It hasn't even arrived and we are rushing here. we can twiddle our thumbs. And here it comes. Signal, let us go. Express is already here. There's no time to lose. Pipeline tunnel. So maybe this wasn't one Golf 7-3 after all. Maybe this is one Golf 7-3. Crawling here in the... Why did you not turn on your lights, AI driver? Set the trim brake to running, so I guess this is where we are going to. Couple up to apply power per move. We don't have a signal yet. Yeah, don't let you be tricked. If there is no signal, call the signaler. Forward, brake is off. Move. So, no, I think we're just going back the way that we went with the 47 to shunt in front of one Golf 7-3 or 2 or whatever his name was. This signal is already good. Apparently we have to negotiate a little gradient. So far, the safety systems on the other side did not hamper us, so we will probably leave it on. There's a bit of a gradient, right? Okay, we're coupling. Okay. Oops. Again. Brakes fully on. Loco also. And reverser to off. And then couple. Change hands once again and take the service to Warrington. This should be light work for the pair of 20s. Alright. Then we will do whatever you say. Headlights off. We don't need any tail lights. Neutral shutdown. Brake pin. Oh. Master key to off. The change ends lever to off. Sit in the other driver's seat. Alright. In this case we don't have to turn off any lights on the other locomotive because there were no lights to begin with. Alright. At least we can use here the change ends lever without getting up from our driver's seat. Set the taillights to off, markers to on, lock the doors, and in this case we don't release the brakes before closing the doors. Apply some power to get moving when the brake cylinders are empty. I can still hear them hissing, so probably we have to empty them on the whole train before we can actually run. Yeah. And now we can apply some more power. We're still in the 15, no, in the 10 even. 10, 25. That is a quite restricting platform that this train chose to sit in. And we're going downhill a bit, as it seems. It's always the 10s, yeah? Like your switch. The 10-mile switches are really annoying. And now we have to pull the whole train through. How long are we, by the way? We are 270 yards long. Here is the speed changing point to the 25, and now we have to go 270 yards. The ring for the green signal, and at the same time we're going to position 5 to the right. Still slightly going downhill. End of the train is no past the 25 marker. It was still in the 10-mile section. That is a quite colorful train that we're running here. Still not beyond. But now we're going uphill again. And out on the main line. At least we can go 25 now. I think we left the window open on the other end. Always something that you forget. Wipers, windows, lights, safety systems. Always something. So, are we through? Then I guess we can accelerate at least to 75, if not even more. Before we get to the section where we slow down to 90 and 80 for the junction. For the branch offs. Interesting engines down there. The choppers. Here again the static rolling stock, more 20s, more 47s, and the occasional gronk. What is our top speed here on the 20? It's 60 miles, so the variations of line speeds between 80, 75, 90, 100 do not really concern us a lot. 50 miles on the main track. I think this was for a switch, the 50 marker. I think there was an arrow underneath. But we are limited by our locomotives to 60, so this is what we're going to do. And now we're going back to Warrington Bank Quay, platform 2. And the passengers are thinking, hey, why are we going 60 here on the main line? I think we are on the express. It has a 1 head code well, it doesn't say it. But the train behind us has a 1 Golf head code, so it should actually be an express train. And we're going 60 on the main line. But without us, dear people, we wouldn't go anywhere either, because there is no choice in the overhead catenary. Okay, might miss that, says Acura, but as you say, everything above 60 should not concern us. Totally not. Those stars, by the way, and the color of those stars tell you which vehicles, which locomotives can actually work together in multiple units. So multiple unit working. You can combine blue stars with blue stars, for example. But not with other colored stars. Are we getting our full points for driving with safety system on? Yes. Again, one niggle with the class 20 here in this DLC is that we don't have, or at least we have not found, a switch that turns on the vigilance device. It can only be turned on by keyboard shorts, where it's always a bad thing for people playing on consoles. Well, maybe this will be fixed. As you might have noticed, there is a long list of fixes out recently. I think it went live today. With some fixes that I actually never thought would happen ever in the game. Our class 19 scenario now works with the brakes, with the brake valves cutting off properly, as it seems. You might remember in Manchester Airport DLC there was a Slade Lane junction where the tracks got so close together the trains actually collided when they were traveling on those tracks at the same time. This was fixed, which is a big thing in my opinion, because I can't remember that I've ever seen something that went so deep into the structure of the DLC that even the track was moved. So, a lot of things don't get fixed for a long time, but then sometimes, almost surprisingly, things get fixed after all. And most people already have forgotten that there was a problem, but still, you can't say that they never fix anything. Chop, chop. The choppers. I'm always intrigued in how in locomotives like this you can still see the old design of steam engines. That are now running backwards actually, because there is no tender anymore. It's not a problem. But still they are designed in a way that you can run them like a steam engine, right? If you're going the other way around, you have your power plant in front of you. And you have to look alongside it. Some might say that some third-party studios care, so they fix. Yeah. Actually, a lot of them do, I guess. Problem is definitely that third-party studios cannot fix on their own. They always have to go through the update process at DTG. And ATS was not, in my opinion, class 90, yeah. The most famous for fixing their stuff, actually. But they did, they fixed their DLC, at least in some respects. And they fixed their class 90. I'm not sure if it is working properly. For me, the cruise control did not work on the class 90. It was still accelerating beyond the setting. Or maybe I was doing something wrong, or I even got an old build for it. But now the brakes work properly, at least in this scenario where you have to rescue the other train. By the way, we're actually quite close to our stopping position. Let's see if we have to slow down below the 60. Doesn't seem like it. Well, we're getting to our double yellow here. And now closing in on Warrington Bank Key. Let's look again if there is anything that we have to slow down for. It does still not look like it, so I might have overbraked a bit, assuming that we have to go across a switch, but as it seems we don't have to go across a switch. We can still accelerate a bit more even for the last mile with 30 miles. Our delay is already quite astonishing. More than half an hour late. But well, that is the problem if the overhead catenary fails. And you have to be towed by a pair of locomotives that is limited to 60 miles per hour. You cannot be expected to run the express on time. It's like Percy standing in for Gordon. But I don't know if there is still a signal between here and our stopping position. So at any rate, take it easy. In case there is still a signal, I don't think there is. Well, you never know. Train is almost braking too well. Unlock the doors. Now we have to probably get the level 20s out of the way. Again, full service so that nothing rolls away, off full local brakes. And then uncouple this train. Now you can run again on your own power. Shunt the 20s to the north end bay to allow 1 Golf 73 to proceed southwards. Taillights. That's actually nice that here we always have to turn on the taillights when we're shunting away. Frame breaker running, local breaker running. We have our position light signal. And now we can't leave. And I have a feeling that it is because for some reason the local brake on the rear end is on. No, for some reason the reverse is not on. Weird. Oh. Alright. All good? Not the problem that I might have expected from the other DLC. 15. But just me being weird and not being able to put the reverser properly. Well, all the better. All the better. Going uphill here as it seems. How fast can we go? 15? I already checked that. At least I think it is 15. Yeah, it should be 15. And here it all even says so. Whiskey November 213, where is that? That looks like we're running downhill here. Oh! Now we actually missed the spot to turn around. Because there is a lot of gradient here. The stopping point was behind. Because that is the signal. Well, what we do now is change ends. Freely, without instructions, and go off and go back. To the other kind and try to go to this spot on our own. Reverser is off, throttle is off. Brake is in shutdown, local brake is released, AWS cap is good, and we have the tail lights on and the headlights is off, so I think that is good. Lights, local brake, release, forward, and then let's see if we can go there, since we are going uphill. Yes. Oh. Now it does not want us anymore. Maybe it needs the other loco in this spot. Aha. Okay, we went through everything already and now we can go. We even have a signal running a loco brake forward off, since we are doing a hill start. We want some throttle on before we release the loco brake. And here we go. Okay, that was nice. Scenario works even if we roll too fast and too far. But this teaches me that when running downhill we need a lot of brakes to stop the 20s. Love that sounds. Yeah, they are right. Bing, 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 bing. Yeah, this would actually be nice, right? If the scenarios would rely more on you doing all that stuff on your own without being led through it step by step. But I guess they had this scenarios in former DLCs, and people complained that they did not know what to do. But I appreciated that we did not get an objective failure or something like this in the scenario over, just because we overshot our target position. Can I go faster than 15 here? Ah, yeah, definitely. They mean you did right without instruction, yes. Or sound bing 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 bing. What? Driving over speed? Where did I drive over speed? Here on the 10? Maybe I scratched it. That's the annoying thing about the 10 miles. You always stick beneath the 10 miles and stick and stick and stick, and then you scratch them for a tiny bit, and then everything is in vain. So this time I have to pay attention so that I don't go too far. Here is a signal. Ah, this is our signal that we used in the beginning of the mission, right? Of the scenario. Headlights, taillights, brake into shutdown. Always make sure you have enough room for your mouse to move. Don't forget the local brake to 0, set the reverser to off, set the master key to off, set change ends lever. Hit in the other side seat. Come on. Where is the door? Here it is. Signal is already set. That is nice. They put us quite close to the signal here. I'm afraid we can't even see that from our cab. No, we can't. Master key. Reverse it to forward. Taillights. Train brake to running. And move! Let's see if we still have a signal. Yes, we have. And we're going to stop at platform 4. That means we probably have to do one more switch from side to side. Where is that? 15 again? Or even 20? I guess 15. 15 is the slow speed of choice here at this station. Pacer mentioned on the wall, what a detail, yes. Is the this is our platform 4, is the bay platform where we got the 47 from. Good thing that on the station in Wigan we had 2 bay platforms so that we can leave one loco there and get the other one and park now the 20s here where we got the 47 from. Other way around would have been annoying. Here we are. Shut the locos down and it's time for your break. Hope for the OHLE issues will be solved by the time you return. Okay. Don't forget the pin. That's it. Ha, that was one speeding attempt. Taken 1 hour 34 minutes, but I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this scenario. A lot of details that made sense and something out of what we are doing in the timetable runs. Thank you guys for joining me on this sneak peek. Just Trains West Coast Mainline Crewe to Preston DLC with the class 47/3 and the class 86/4 plus the Gronk plus the Chopper will release tomorrow. And yeah, then have fun with it. I'm going to play this a lot more. Definitely. Good night, everyone. See you next time. See you next time, Akura. We meet again on Sunday, and then we're going to run some trains together again in our multiple stream setup. Yes, sure. Maybe we have to switch the bots then if Juniper wants to come on as well. Because I am afraid I cannot have more than 2 additional streams to mine, otherwise my GPU will actually get to its limits. Anyway, we will meet again on Sunday. Have fun, have the greatest of times, enjoy, and bye-bye.